Okay, so today I played a classical game. This is the first one of a series of rated games that I play over the board, and I wanna analyze it. And first, I'm gonna look at it again and talk a bit about it, and then I'm gonna turn on the engine and see what it says about my moves. So I was white here, and I had looked up who I expected to be my opponent, um, and I saw that they played a Sicilian, and they played a I'm gonna show it a bit, and they play a accelerated dragon, I believe. Let's see. So they played knight c6, take, and then no, knight f6 first, and then g6. And this, I looked at it with the engine, and I saw that apparently, g6 is not the main move for sure here, but I saw that I looked at this for a bit. You can take, and then b takes, you get e5, and then that's pretty good. And actually, let's actually look at this line a bit. Knight h5 probably, and you just develop, and this pawn is a thorn. You get f4 and stuff. And I turned on the engine because this is not what happened, but we'll see. So you can take, and if they take with the d pawn, you trade queens, and then you still get e5. So this was, I looked at this a bit more than just this line, but or a bit more than 9 moves, but this was kind of my prep. And then basically what happened is that that I misguessed who my opponent was going to be. So I got a completely different opponent, and so I still played e4 because I had looked at at this line in c5, and I know a bit about e4 e5 openings, and I'm a lot more knowledgeable about e4 openings. And my opponent played c5, so that's at least something. But they play a d6 open, or a d6 Sicilian, and they played a Najdorf even. So knight f6, I defend the pawn, and then a6. So there are plenty of moves here. The setup that I wanted to go for, there are a couple of setups here. I saw that I once looked at bishop g5 and bishop c4 and f4 setups, which are pretty aggressive. There are the more common setups. There's also bishop, not right here, bishop c4, but f3 and bishop e3 and bishop c4, and then you go like that, queen d2, castle long. So those are but they're mostly against g6 opening, dragons, Sicilian dragons and stuff. But in this position, or in this game, I wanted to go for a more generic setup with bishop to e3, bishop to e2, f4, and castle. So I played bishop e2, which I think is the main version of that setup. Yeah, so the idea is to prevent knight g4, so I can play bishop e3 and then castle, and then f4. I think that's the idea. It says here it's not played as often, but it's still solid. And you get e5, which my opponent said is the main line, and I can see why. I'm unsure about my next move. I played knight to b3, but maybe the knight is better on f3, despite getting like knight g4 options, so you can't really play knight bishop e3, even though I don't want to. Yeah, I think well, knight b3 worked out fine in the game, but this is the first move that if the engine says you should play knight f3, I wouldn't be shocked. Bishop e6 happened. My opponent is threatening d5, and kind of the knight as well, maybe, but mostly just d5, and I can't block that because they take my e-pawn. So the only out that I saw was bishop g5, bishop e7 to unpin. Right? Do you have to? I think so. I take, they take back, and then I play knight d5. I don't need to play knight d5, but I think I should play knight d5 because of the line that I calculated, which is basically forced in this position. So, well, it's taking it. Oh wait, taking on d5 was forced, I feel like, because if you don't, I play c4, and then I get like, then it's just a better version for me, because I can take with a pawn and get my rook to c1 immediately, and like double up on the c file. I'm fairly certain that you basically have to take. So my opponent took, and I took with the queen, putting pressure here. There are a couple of ways to play, but like the most normal way is to play knight c6, blocking and developing the knight. And now I wanted to put pressure on this pawn, which is like the entire point of these this opening. So after the opponent plays e5 in the Sicilian, which is this is not a Sveshnikov, but it's like Sveshnikov adjacent. You put pressure on the d pawn because it's backwards, and yeah, it's pretty hard to defend actually. So so I had basically the question: do I want to play rook to d1 or do I want to play castle? So there's always a rook on d1 at the end of my move. And I decided to castle, and then there's this check in theory, but that's fine, especially because the bishop needs to be the one that defends this. There's no real other way. The only other move other than bishop e7 to defend is king e7, and after king e7 I'd be happy, I think. I could play bishop c4 maybe, threaten f7, queen takes f7 mate, but then like block, and the game continues, but it's like that's probably not even worth considering or worth looking at. My opponent didn't give me this check. My opponent immediately went back to e7. That also keeps open some double attacks and stuff. And I did not like that, and I played a move that my opponent said after that move they thought that they were ahead, so I apparently gave away more than the advantage that I have, and I'm not sure about that, and we'll see. I played the move c3, which is definitely a weakening move, but it prevents this and properly defends it actually as well, because I really only saw my opponent could make a couple of improving moves, but like my opponent can't really play rook to c8 because that just gets kicked, and my bishop wants to be here probably, and if it's not there and it's here, so my opponent can castle, they can play rook c8 and like queen here maybe, and those are all of their improving moves. Like this is just really difficult to untangle basically, and that should give me plenty of time to set up my pieces properly and yeah, just develop slowly, make sure that they can't do anything, because this knight has no moves. I mean, it can go back. This knight can't move, this bishop can't move. I felt like I had infinite time here. Most likely opponent's counterplay is in forms of stuff like f5 and b5. And b5 doesn't work because the knight is under attack. F5 doesn't work because my opponent needs the castle there and then play the king, and then yeah, I'm going to attack on that side as well. So my plan, like, if I could play this, I'd be winning. But h4 just gets taken. But like, and maybe I can set this up. My plan was basically to do this, which also happened, and then this or something. I don't know. We'll see. It depends on what the opponent plays, of course, but this is probably a good plan. So yeah, I played c3, queen b6. No, castle. Sorry, my opponent castled first. I played king b1 because there might be some issues here, and like, I saw that if my opponent played rook c8, then I could play f4, and if I believe that was the idea, and if they don't play rook c8, then they don't really have a good move. Well, I mean, queen b6. And without rook c8 I couldn't play f4. Why did I think that I could play f4? So let's say, I mean, I'm gonna quickly put the move in that my opponent played, which is queen b6, but let's say they played rook c8. Why did I think I could play f4? I believe this was part of the point. Not sure why. I can't remember. But yeah, I believe I calculated at least that f4 worked in that position, and not if the rook is on a8 because of this type of stuff. Also maybe because of some check or something, I don't know. So queen b6 attacks this pawn, and I kind of want to play f4, but then the queen gets to e3. So I had to very slowly set up the move f4. So I played rook h to f1, which still doesn't allow me to play f4 because of queen e3, but we'll get there at some point. After g3 it is possible to play f4 because the bishop can just move. And my opponent played a move that I did not even consider, but actually looked pretty strong, because like my opponent, or not strong, but like probably the best move they can play, because they really don't have a lot of moves. They don't want to go to the c file with a rook because I attack it. And they can't really move the knight. Well, they can, but it can go like here and maybe something like that. That's the plan. The bishop can't move. They can't. They can play rook d8 and then the bishop can move maybe. But that's also kind of iffy, and like, what does this bishop do here, really? So so my opponent played a5, which is basically the only thing they can do. Play a4 and a3, and maybe there's something there. And I found this interesting idea here. So I realized at some point that actually my opponent is threatening a4 and a3 here. a4 moves the knight, a3, and then I have to play b3, and this might be a weakness. so what I did is I moved the knight, but my knight does do stuff, but it doesn't really have good moves or to a good place. Well, not directly. There's this maneuver, which could be interesting, and I looked at that, but I saw this other move which I really thought was really cool, and it also helped me get to like here. I moved the knight to a1, and this is the route that I wanted to go. So either here or here or here from e3. Or just sit on e3, that's also a good position for the knight. So I played knight a1, which is not a move you see often. My opponent also started maneuvering their knight. I think a4 is also a playable move. Knight c2, and I think a3 I still have to play b3. But that might be fine. So my opponent just moved their knight, I moved my knight, they moved their knight. We both maneuvered our knights. Oh, actually I didn't play knight e3 here, because there's a move knight f4, which I did not like, so I played g3 here, which is also a move that I wanted to play regardless. And my opponent, basically this was their plan, to maneuver their knight like that from here, so they had this plan, which I mean they could have also done this, but this also kicks out my queen in the meantime. So knight, so we're at g3. Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting here. What is this? I believe that. Oh yeah, I remember this. Okay. I remember this. I had to fix my notation because I actually made a notation error here. I wrote down the move rook c8 here, but it should be I should actually mention which rook moves there, because both rooks can go to c8. They played rook a to c8, and I had to fit in an a, so my handwriting was completely illegible for a second. So rook a c8 is I can't actually attack it. Also my pawn on c3 is threatened. And so we've been playing a slow positional game. I really like these types of positions. Just maneuvering a knight, so my knight move existed on a1 at some point. My knight is actually going to be the hero of this game at some point, but we'll see. Because I managed to get it to a good square, which this is I really like these types of positional ideas, but now we're starting to become a bit tactical. I recently had basically a master class type of thing where one thing that I was taught is when the game starts changing, like if you go from a positional to a tactical idea or vice versa, take a lot of time, calculate this. So I did. I took like 10-15 minutes on my move, which was bishop to g4, pinning the knight, also threatening to take and win a pawn. My opponent can take on c3, but I thought that this was better. So they didn't take, but let's assume they did. I take here, they basically forced to take back, and I'd take, which is a double attack, forcing rook f7, after which I thought after f4 I'm pretty much winning, because I'm threatening to take and win the rook, and there's not much they can do, I think. Also I'm threatening to take and they can't even take back, So they might actually have to do something like this. And then, I mean, they can take here, but maybe they should play something like that instead. Oh, but if the bishop... but then I get rook, queen e8, so they might... Maybe they actually have to go all the way back. Oh, also the rook is hanging in this variation, so that doesn't even work. They can't play the... they can't move the queen. So they have to play something like this. I take... This can't take back, so they have to actually move the bishop to defend the rook. And if they go forward, I get queen e8 check. Well, if they go here, so they have to go to f8, and then I take here, and then this must be very, very winning. I'm up 2 pawns, and these pawns are insane. And like, good luck. Have fun with this position. I don't think they have a move. Okay, I mean queen c5 is a move that they're allowed to play, but like, yeah, that's what I would have. I would have enjoyed this. Let's just say it's probably terrible. So my opponent didn't play that. They actually defended kind of by attacking my queen. So for a second I considered bishop takes e6 and then sack my queen, which looked at least reasonable. But like, why would I? I can just defend this pawn with my queen and then still threaten this kind of. So also the original plan was like, I assumed rook c5 would happen, and then I would play queen to d3, because now the knight can't go to c5. And I wanted to play queen to d3 because I wanted to keep an eye on this square, I believe, but the rook can just go there regardless. I'm not sure why I wanted to go to d3 exactly. So at this point I realized I don't have to, so I just went to d2, which is the normal move. And because it also keeps an eye on this diagonal. Oh, maybe it was because of bishop at g5. But I realized that bishop g5 doesn't work because of f4. It is defended sufficiently, so if I take, they can take, because they win c3 in the end. And this looks okay for black. But the point is, after f4 take, I can take here in between and turn this knight defender into rook defender, and then they can't actually take, because then they just lose a piece. And this looks good for me because I also win this pawn unless they go back, and now I get whatever I want. Like, my knight can develop somewhere, I can push my yeah, I can push my center, whatever, it doesn't matter. So this doesn't work. So my opponent didn't play bishop g5, obviously. They also saw that. They played knight c7, and to finish the plan of going to b5 and like try to attack me with like this, I don't know. So I played knight to e3, after which my opponent mentioned that they thought that they had somewhere stumbled and are now behind again, because they saw that after knight b5, knight d5, I defend c3 again, and there's just not much, and my knight is insane, and I'm also threatening knight f5. Well, threatening is a big word. Knight f5. My knight wants to go to either of these squares, and it's like not that easy to stop. My opponent, yeah, my opponent played rook e8, in the end. So this threat is not really a thing. I believe actually after, if they played knight b5 and I played knight d5, they have to like sack the exchange. That's how bad it is. And I do have to take with the pawn obviously, because otherwise there's a fork, which I will show. Actually, that could be interesting to look at. So if you take, I have to take with the pawn because otherwise you get a fork and you can't take back because of the pin. Unfortunate. So I'd have to take with the pawn, in which case I'd be substantially better still, but I think at least. But maybe you get f5 now. This might not actually be good for me, now I think about it. Well, it's, I mean, I'm up an exchange, so whatever, it's probably fine. I just go here, play f4, I don't know. But my opponent played rook e8 with the intention of defending the bishop in case it gets attacked, I believe, was the main point, in some way. So I didn't necessarily attack it yet, because I also don't want to take unless it wins a piece, because this knight is pretty strong and this bishop is still that terrible bishop. The terrible Sveshnikov bishop, and it's still not developed to this diagonal either. So I could play knight f5, but I'm assuming it just gets kicked. So instead I put basically more fuel on the fire before I tried to light it. So my pieces are slowly going towards their king. Like queen goes here, and like the bishop maybe, something like that. So, and this rook as well. So this rook still is kind of stuck. So now I open it, or I kind of open it up. If they take, then it's definitely open at least. Yeah. But like, you don't have to take, and now I can take and then open it up. And my attack seemed insanely fast, at least. So my plan was knight f5, take, queen g5. So that's 3 moves, I'm already threatening mate. Assuming that this bishop moves, which it kind of has to. If not, I take and then play queen g5 and attack the rook. And this threatens mate, and then like knight g6 maybe, and the rook is open, so they have to take, and like I can draw like 15 arrows towards their king, so it must be good. My attack must be good, basically. F4, yeah. So F4, I think F4 is a good move here. My opponent played A4, and they're actually kind of starting to attack. And I saw this really interesting move here, which I think worked out very well, despite it looking really weird. Because like A4 is undefended. And I saw that, so I was thinking for like 10 minutes on like knight f5 and knight f5 and take, no, not there, take, and queen g5, stuff like that. And then I realized, what if I just include this move? Double attack. If you play rook d8, my bishop takes the pawn and I'm up a pawn and win an endgame regardless. Also my attack still continues. And my bishop reroutes to this diagonal, which looks great actually. So my opponent did not allow me to take. Played rook a8, that's the only other move. And now my bishop is just here. And this bishop is suddenly undefended. So I played knight f5 to attack it. And they have to move. And they played bishop f8. And now my attack starts crashing through. And well, kind of. it looks like it crashes through, but it's not actually all that fast, it turned out. Maybe I misplayed it, but I'm not sure. So I took, and I think, so my opponent took back with the pawn. I think this fails on because of queen g5, and I think you have to sack the exchange already. I'm not sure about that. Well, the threat is at least, so if my opponent plays, let's say, a pass move like this, that's not a... Actually, that is still a kind of a pass move. I get this check, and win the exchange. That was something I saw at least. I think taking the rook right now is a bit better than that. And I mean, there might be something else here. I believe it's still queen g5, but I'm not sure what the best move here for black is. Maybe it is actually a3 and just threaten mate, but like a3, b3, and then what? I'm still threatening this winning an exchange, and I'm not sure there's much to do about it. So my opponent took with a pawn, and now I think I made an error here. So my idea originally was queen g5, which I did not do, because I saw something here. So I saw this nice trick that queen f6 loses, I think. I thought queen f6 lost. Right? So there's this trick, but then you can take with the queen. Maybe it's just take, and like do nothing. I'm not, like something like this, maybe, I don't know. I'll need to look at that, but I actually will put this in. I did not play that. Also, there's this queen g6. There's this interesting trick where you can force the trade here, threaten f7, but like f7 and the rook. But I saw you can take and defend both. And I think I'm just down a pawn here. So it's, yeah. That was the reason why I didn't play queen g5. I played queen f2 because that's also fun. It has a similar idea of pressuring f7 well, instead of g7 in this case, but even in that variation I did pressure f7 with like knight h6 or knight somewhere. Also, it pins the rook, and it's really difficult to get rid of this pin because the queen is undefended, and the rook is defended by this bishop, but like I don't think there's any, like, for example, if you play queen a6, I think I can just do this. I'm not sure. So I did play queen f2. Well, so let's actually look at this. This is a deflection tactic. If you don't take, I win a pawn, obviously. So if you play take with the king, I don't get queen f6. What was it again? Queen f6 just gets taken. Oh, I take here. And this is done. Yeah, I mean, you have a chance maybe, but like, good luck, have fun with this. Yeah, so, and that's because you can't take with the bishop. Oh, those are really weird. You can't take back because the rook hangs. So you can't move the queen. Can't go in either of those places. You can't move the rook to defend the queen because I just take the rook. So this pin is very difficult to deal with. Which, well, yeah, my opponent had quite a lot of issues with this. Also, there is some nice idea. If your opponent ever plays a3, I can play b4, and that's like attacking this pinned rook. And it's technically not over, but after king a1, like, what do you do? Also, this technically defends this pawn, because I just take the queen. Yeah, so I really like queen f2 as a move, and but my opponents managed to defend this very easily and like slowed down my attack quite a bit. My opponent played f6. So now, I mean, the attack isn't over, but it just takes a lot longer than I expected. So I had this plan of g4, g5 and take on g6, or take on f6, and I think that instantly wins if I get 3 moves. Do I get 3 moves? Well, a3 is on its way, and like this might be an issue, and the knight can come in. I don't know. And my bishop might get stuck. It's all unclear. So I mean, I had to go for it, but I think this always wins if I get all of the moves in. But I'm not sure I do get all the moves in. Was basically my calculation. So g4, my opponent played knight to b5 to like threaten here. This is actually a proper threat winning an exchange, and in which case I think this is all savable. So I actually had to defend. I didn't have to defend knight a3 check, which even though it looked decent. So I played rook to d3, also setting up stuff like that. So here as well, pick your favorite basically. Knight a3 check with the nice plan of playing knight to c4, defending the queen, and now the rook can move. And maybe my bishop gets stuck. I thought this was a funny idea. But, I mean, what does it do? I just play g5, basically. And now this is an actual threat, I think, and my opponent did not respect it enough. So they played queen a6 here, after which, I mean, the game ended, and I think it's already over here because I can take, and there are plenty of variations. So let's assume, I mean, if you don't take, you can't really threaten anything as black. So I at least win a pawn. Oh, I also should mention, I think the best move in this position is probably this. Queen takes b2, and then you get 2 pawns for the knight, and this might be playable. Still, I think that's the best thing to do here, but this is just over. So my opponent played queen takes f6, but let's look at pawn takes first. I need to think about what the move is exactly, because I mean this move makes sense, of course. But like, I can do this, check for, and like here, or maybe what's probably better actually is rook g1, because like this is hanging, so the bishop can't really move anywhere to defend this, and can't go here. This knight is so dominant compared to this bishop. I think that's just, there's, yeah, also here, I don't know, maybe still this, because the only legal move is there, and then I take this rook. And like, good luck stopping that. Oh, that might be possible. Maybe not. This does not look savable, honestly. Like, oh, this is mate. Okay, good enough. So yeah, that's kind of the point. So queen takes f6, and here, and I thought my opponent actually couldn't do this, and I assumed this, but like, this is just over. This is also over, kind of. So I found knight h6 check, and there are 3 legal moves here, and I want to go over all of them, because they're all winning. Let's actually do the move that my opponent played first, which just gets mated, which is cool. This is a deflection tactic. So the bishop is defended twice, which is the only reason why it's not mate yet, but I deflect the queen from the, or deflect the king from the defense. So goodbye. And that was what happened. If you take with the pawn, I take the queen, and then checkmate you. So good luck finding a solution here. And if you play king h8, here was my plan. Check. If you take with the queen, I obviously just take back with the queen, win the queen, easy enough. King moves. Then I take the queen, and then bishop e6. And you can't run away from this discovered attack, because this is checkmate. This is just it. So there aren't a lot of legal moves you can make, or useful moves mainly. Let's say knight moves or something, I don't know. I mean, like, this already wins a piece, so you need to actually threaten something. Also, this might be mated, might be mate, I'm not sure. So instead of this, you have to find something. So we looked at this for a bit, but that actually also loses spectacularly to just taking the knight, and then no wait, not taking the knight immediately, sorry. Check, forcing bishop g7, then taking the knight, and then this is a fork. Also, I can take on f6 at any point. So worst case, I always have a pawn, but like, this is also fun. So this is how the game ended, or technically this is how the game ended, but like, just to show that it actually is mate. Yeah. So how did I do? Well, let's figure that out. d6. I mean, this is all main line, some main line. d4, take just some open, and it's, yeah, some Najdorf. It actually likes my position at plus 0.4 here and only plus 0.2 here after the black moves, which I think is interesting. Bishop e2 is one of the best moves. e5, knight b3 only move, interesting. Apparently knight f3 is worse. I mean, the knight is really bad in both positions basically, but here it might actually have some home here on a5 at some point, so which is why knight c6 was forced in that later position. Oh, bishop e3 is actually possible. Let's see, I want to look at that, because I thought d5, but maybe that's just still not good enough. Yeah, just take, right, and then rook g1. Yeah, I'm not gonna play rook g1 in this position, but maybe I'd rather castle, I think. And apparently this is just better for me, but wasn't sure. So this is what I played. Bishop e7. Apparently they have knight b to d7. Take, knight d5. Apparently this isn't great, but... Oh, they don't have to take. Yeah. I assumed that they did, because I do have a lot of pressure here. And maybe, and I believe, and I assumed at least that this just is a worse version for them than what happened in the game. But I guess not. But this is good for me, definitely. Knight c5. Yeah, Engine really likes rook d1 over castling, apparently. Oh, but this is still good. Yeah, this isn't possible. Well, technically it is, but it just loses a pawn, so you have to go knight e7 at some point, and inserting bishop g5 is probably bad. Engine really likes c3 here. Nice. Validation! c3. My opponent castles, which is fine. King b1. Validation! Bishop, queen b6, and like, do I have to look at... Okay, yeah, I wanted to see if this is good. Rook, oh yeah, just rook f1, of course. And why is this better in this variation? Unclear, but okay, I guess f4 isn't good. But yeah, on rook c8 I would have... I would have probably played bishop g4. But yeah, queen b6. Just defend. You don't have to defend, apparently. Apparently bishop c4. I was kind of afraid of bishop c4 because, like, I mean, you get the pawn back, but yeah, okay, I like bishop c4 now that I think about it. Because take rook here, and this is really, that's just too much. Then you win the f pawn back. Yeah, that looks fine. That looks very playable. And my opponent didn't cede much, so apparently this is already a mistake. And knight a1. Nice. Knight to d8 is good. Yeah, so a5 was apparently bad. Weird. I mean, if they don't do anything, then I thought my attack I thought I could, yeah, just slowly improve and be definitely better. But yeah. Knight c2, knight e6, and yeah, g3 of course, c8, queen b5. I'd never even considered that. That's just not the position, or at least not the position I wanted. Queen d3 also. Oh, apparently you can take on c3. But rook c5 is the second option. I wanna see this. Let's see if my... Oh, you can't take back. Yeah, I saw this, but I thought queen here. Oh, rook. And then, yeah, and then you have to sack the piece back. Wait. Yeah, okay, I did see that actually. So now that I think about it. A queen c. And there's just nothing because I'm too slow. Okay, yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense. And you get d5 and yeah. apparently that still is fine. Instead, yeah, queen d2 only move apparently. And like this is only -1, or well, less than -1 actually. So it is interesting to look at, but it's like you're definitely down here. And I also looked at queen d3, but that's, yeah, okay, that's still fine, but queen d2 is a bit better. Yeah, knight c7, one of the best moves. Wait, did it just say bishop g5? f4. So, okay, game kind of, or the chess almost broke, and you can just take back. Bishop f6. Yeah, this is kind of also an issue if you play f4, that you might give the opponent bishop f6, and that could be bad in the long term. So I kind of wanted to play e5 immediately if possible, but that's not possible here. But this is totally fine. Yeah. Okay, knight c7, knight d3, clear. Yeah, g6 to prevent knight f5 might have been necessary, but then I just that just makes f4 f5 stronger, I thought, which is probably not untrue. Or maybe h4 h5. Yeah, okay. And queen c6. Oh, this pawn is hanging. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, rook e8. It immediately wants bishop d7. Oh, it doesn't want the opponent to stop. Ah, because now I can forcibly go here and then go on this diagonal. It's maybe d5. Wait, does that sack a pawn or something? Yes, it does. Well, kind of. I'd play this. Yeah, okay. I didn't even see it at this position. At this point, I only saw the move after, unfortunately. But I played f4, which Engine really dislikes and says I gave away all my advantage, which is fascinating since my opponent thought, oh, now I'm behind. Well, technically this is the moment that they're ahead. The first time that they're ahead. Yeah, because of this bishop f6 idea. Just sacking the pawn and crashing down, crashing through on the diagonal. And I basically have to play e5 to kind of hope to block it, which doesn't really work. Yeah, queen d7 makes sense. And hope to perpetual. Yeah, okay. This looks bad. So it makes sense that bishop f6 was the move. Yeah, take bishop f6. Maybe I actually have to take with the rook then. On bishop f6 I have to sack, and it does like that. With bishop g5. Fascinating that this is actually worse for me. I mean, it makes sense. The bishop is actually very strong here. So yeah, a4 makes this even better. Oh, it suddenly shoots up to +2. I missed that. +2, yeah. Rook there, and then it really likes taking immediately. Why? Oh, you get the same matrix. Well, kind of the same matrix. So if you take with the pawn, then I checkmate here. Wait, why is it? Oh yeah, double attack here. That's a difficult thing to spot from a distance, and you have to spot it from like here. Actually, from here, you have to spot that you get a double attack. Even though this line is closed and this line is closed, and there's nothing here yet. But yeah, knight f5 is still definitely playable. Yeah, bishop f8 is basically forced. I mean, this is still just winning. And d takes e5 is really the best move. But why does this break? Yeah, my opponent said that they weren't afraid of this because, like, I believe it was like this or something. Oh, but yeah, there. I did see that I could take with the rook, and I did not see that I could take with the knight. Which, I mean, I would have found that over the board if necessary. And I probably would have played rook or played this, because this is nothing after g6. Yeah, it's just nothing. Rook e7. Okay. Bishop takes a4. What? Oh, it's the same idea. Nice. With a double attack. Yeah. But I played Queen f2. What's this? Yeah, this is just bad. Wait, is this bad? Apparently not anymore. You have to find knight b5. And knight d5 only move. c4 only move. They have to sack the rook only move, and then perpetual, right? Yeah, it's just a perpetual, I think. Okay. But this is good. King h8 didn't happen. f6. Ooh, a3. a3 is a good idea. Just stop a3 altogether. The best way to prevent a move is to play it yourself. But it's like, I mean, this is just basically mate in 3, I think. My opponent did try, right? Yeah. But I just defend. I'm still better here. Oh yeah, a3 check, or a3 b3, and then take here probably, or just a3. What if b4? Yeah, oh, they still can't actually take. Oh, they can. Oh, they take here. Ah. So I can't play b4, but I can play b3. Now I basically have to take. Yeah. I mean, this still looks playable. But knight a3, king a1, doesn't really matter where I go. I did take some time to consider king c1, but it doesn't really matter. Validation. The g5 is just straight up winning if I manage to play it. And, like, how bad is this? -4, okay, for my opponent. Or +4, so +4 for me. Yeah, this is just basically over. Um, th this doesn't help. I mean, there isn't a whole lot that you can do. it's it starts counting up. It's counting up. Can it keep going? Can we get much higher? 5.4 only. Aw. Okay. Yeah, now it's just dead. And I want to look at g takes f6 for a bit. Oh, it's yeah, it's just mate. Check, king here, queen, defend, take. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. But yeah, queen takes f6 is the best move, right? No, it's not, but it's yeah. And then it takes 6 and it's just over. Taking it in some ways immediately mate. And this was my plan. Taking it is also immediately mate. Okay, let's repeat once. Of course. And now I can't repeat anymore, so I need to find a better move. Rook f3. Oh, that's just so brutal. That looks nice. But like, I mean, this is just winning as well. Bishop e6, yeah. I did see that. And then rook here. Double check. Or just this discovery, which I believe I saw that wins a piece, right? Okay, maybe not. Oh yeah, this check first, of course. And then this check, which should win a piece. Yeah, that's it. Okay. But I did see this. That this is just straight up winning and there's not much they can do. And I'm threatening kind of mate as well. Like, if you just do nothing... This isn't really much actually as well. This was kind of the plan, and like they can do stuff. Maybe. But like... Oh, maybe I should take the knight first. Make it a bit safer. So rook here. Oh, that's of course not good. And that's mate? Knight h6. Ah, okay, I see. There's an actual threat that I missed. Okay. But like, why is this not... Ah, I see. So what if I just take and then... Oh, now you can defend. And then I win an exchange here as well. Okay, makes sense. And like, this is just clearly mate. Obviously, everyone should have seen that, right? Well, no. It's a puzzle that you see occasionally. But yeah. Yeah, good game. Apparently, I mean, the opening was pretty equal as usual, but then I was slightly better for most of it. It kind of came back because I went backwards a bit too much maybe. And f4 was apparently the only real move that my opponent thought that they were behind, that they were behind, I was behind. And then they blundered immediately and yeah. I mean, apparently they came back, but yeah, it's over. Okay, it was a good game. It's been a long day. I'm gonna make dinner. See you whenever I do this again.